It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your hosts, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. You guys are checking out episode number 1047 of the RCWR show this August 30th, 2023. We are just one of 2 days for the final month of August, and then we are officially going into fall, give or take. Some people say, nah, fall doesn't officially begin until October. But you got many others that recognize, nah, you know what? Fall is here. It's September. That's when it goes down and everything. As summer, most people definitely agree, summer is definitely at an end once August is over and done with. Hope you guys been all right since last we were on the air with you guys. We got a nice lined up show for you all, nice condensed version as well. Of course, we're going to be talking about Fallout, key points from this week's AEW Dynamite, as this was their go home. I can't believe I'm saying that, but this was their go home edition, as this weekend it's going to be AEW All Out in Chicago as part of StarCast weekend. And I gotta tell you, after watching Dynamite, I was chatting it up with the good brothers and sisters over in the Discord, and it was funny because I said to them, my God, if this is the card for AEW All Out, yeah, I'm just going to skip out on this one. And so many people were taking little funny jokes saying, yeah, whatever. You say that, but you're going to turn around and you're going to watch it. And I'm going, are you... See, they must not know me. They obviously don't know me, because if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Very seldom will I be in a position where I go, okay, you know what? I changed my mind. My friends, my family, definitely my wife at the very top of the list will tell you, once my mind is made up about something or someone, that is it. You cannot convince me otherwise, no matter how long you try to take your time in convincing me and all that. It just ain't happening. So you can just forget about it. But no, this card for All Out, it's one of those deals where I'm going, so wait a minute. Now, granted, even though it's not competing with WWE Payback on the same day, because basically, if I understand it right, I believe Payback is on Saturday and All Out is going to be on Sunday. So even though they're not competing head to head on the same day, same time frame, it's still one of those deals where, okay, do you really want to be wasting your time and energy? And, you know, to each its own. But for me personally, I don't really know if I want to be in that position for AEW's pay-per-view on a Sunday night going into... Now, some people will say, well, wait. Don't forget, we got the Labor Day holiday and everything, and most people, they won't have to go to work, they won't have to go to school. So I am also keeping that in mind as far as AEW deciding, hey, we're going to do a bit of a late pay-per-view joint. Everybody's got the holiday off, right? So I am keeping that in mind. It still just comes down to, okay, here's the card. Whether you're paying for it or not, maybe a friend is hooking you up. They're going to have a little pay-per-view get-together, and you're invited. Is that card enough for you to go out of your way, whether your friend lives 3 blocks down the street or whatever? Is that enough for you to say, okay, yeah, I definitely want to check out this card? I gotta say, the card for me, pretty mediocre. You all can definitely sound off, give me all your thoughts and everything, but it just feels like whatever potential creativity, booking was involved for All In, it just felt like, especially when you watch tonight's Dynamite, that Tony Khan and crew were just scrambling. And at the same time, totally exhausted, creatively, totally exhausted, and this is the card that we essentially have. I will talk more about that wrapped in the AEW Dynamite review and everything. But first things first, this whole, actually, you know what? I'm going to tease you, because I was getting ready to jump right into the CM Punk stuff. I'm going to tease you with that CM Punk stuff for now, because I know we're going to definitely end on a very good note, good high note, talking about CM Punk and everything. So look, very short, condensed episode. We're going to do about, I would say, 40 minutes strong on top of what we've been doing right now, which has almost been going 10 minutes. Reason being, not being long-winded or anything, I actually have to run a very important errand with the wifey, and she told me straight up, she said, unless you want me calling you live on the show at 11 p.m., do your best to get off the air so we can do what we need to do. And it was, okay, yep, you ain't got to tell me twice. I will be ready to go. Not really that much has gone down since last I was on the air with you guys anyway, because, I mean, we were on here less than 30 hours ago. So apologies to our visual listeners or visual watchers there, watchers of the show. But if you're seeing me scratch my elbow, I think a mosquito had nibbled on me just now, but hey, it's all good. So look, going into tonight's AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan had tweeted out that apparently there were many challenges that they faced as a company. And part of it, obviously, down in Florida, we got those bad storms, that hurricane that is. So to my people out there in the Florida area, I do know that there's a decent amount of listeners from the Florida area that check out the show from time to time. You all definitely be safe out there and everything. I'm thinking about you, and I mean, I've been paying attention to the storm off and on since the beginning of this week, and you know, what seemed like at first it was just going to be, all right, this should be over and done with, should really be nothing to worry about. It's very amazing how it's escalated in just hours. So Tony Khan alluding to the fact that you had the storm issue out there, and then also the fact that out in London, there was a lot of traveling issues in London as far as not just talents trying to get back, but you also had just regular folks that had traveled out there for the All In pay-per-view event having a hard time getting out and everything. Y'all remember that one post I had shared with you guys from our boy Matthew of Botchamania? I'm actually friends with him on X Twitter and everything. He put out a post talking about how for, I believe himself, but definitely for his fellow brothers and sisters out there in the UK, how it was pretty challenging for them to get back and everything. Now, I did tell this one listener that I would give him a respected shout out because he had mentioned his experience as far as commuting from All In. Rob Mayor, or is it Mayor? It looks like it's just Rob May OU. Yeah, Rob knows who he is because I told him I'd give him a plug. He had shared his experience about traveling from All In, If you can bear with me just a brief second, I wish I would have had this loaded up already, but I'll have it in just a couple of seconds. Again, he shared his experience, and I told him, I said, okay, that's good lookout. Thanks for leaving that comment. I'll be sure to share it on the next broadcast, because I'm sure that, you know, the listeners would greatly appreciate that and everything. So I'm now on the video, because he left a comment on the All In post show. Here we go. Got it loading up. He says, I was there in attendance as a British fan, and it was a 10 for me. Of course, he's talking about his overall rating of the pay-per-view and everything. By the way, shout out to those of you that had checked out the All In pay-per-view post show and everything. Now, I want to skim ahead just a little bit here, because I know he also talks about the seats and all of that, but I want to get to the main point, which was as far as the traveling goes. So he closed out by saying, as far as getting back was concerned, I am very familiar with London as a whole. I don't live there but visit often, and I planned it well in advance, so didn't have any issue. So Rob, I appreciate you. I know I skipped a whole bunch of other stuff there, but yeah, I'm sure you understand in regards to time, how we're trying to execute the show for this week. You can understand. Well, you know, sadly, Rob, and Rob, I greatly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you sharing your thoughts, your experience there at All In and everything. But homing in on your travel arrangements, sadly, Rob, not everybody will operate like you and me. You literally, I mean, you would think in 2023, most people would operate, you know, well in advance, get the trip itinerary and all that ready to go, but most people don't operate that way. Tying it back to Tony Khan, so you have the hurricane storms there in Florida, combined with travel issues for a lot of talents, personnel from All In coming back to the United States. Tony Khan had to pull an audible, essentially, with a skeleton crew for this week's Dynamite. And you know what? For the most part, I will definitely give Tony and crew credit where it's due. They did the very best with what they had, all things considered. They did the very best with what they had, and I definitely commend them for that. It's just one of those deals, though, where you're just looking at it and you're going, man, you know, obviously they can't take a night off from Dynamite and everything, you know, right? You got to do what you got to do, because you got to fulfill those obligations to the network and everything. But, you know, you're looking at this and you're going, yo, if there was ever a time where it's okay to do a best of 2023 so far, you know, this half or whatever, this respective quarter, or you want to go ahead and play key highlights from what all happened at All In for this week's Dynamite, people would understand it. They would totally freaking understand it. It's all good. We had Commander taking on John Moxley. Commander actually picking up the win there, a rare, actually, correction, Moxley picking up the win. I wish Commander had won, because the way he was operating in this match, you swore. And if you've been checking out my Rampage reviews, you know how high I think highly of Commander. I have said repeatedly, that kid, he is pretty damn good. I'm always impressed every time I see him. Much like with Ray Phoenix, I think that Commander would be a great singles breakout star in AEW. And when I say breakout star, for the record, I'm not saying that they got to be chasing after a world heavyweight championship. I'm just saying, as far as being in that mid-card singles competitor status and everything, there's nothing wrong with. Now, Ray Phoenix could definitely be a AEW World Heavyweight Champion under the right type of booking, story arcs, and all that. He could definitely, for sure, I could see that. But I enjoyed this back and forth between these two, and if I'm not mistaken, there was no blood. There was no blood in this rare John Moxley matchup, for what it was worth. Moxley making Commander tap out, by the way. We saw some backstage footage shot from after the pay-per-view was over and done with of FTR coming up on the Young Bucks, who were pretty beside themselves over the fact that they did not get the job done in becoming AEW World Tag Team Champions. FTR wondering what was going on with the good sportsmanship that they were hoping would be given to them at the end of the match, because they thought all is said in love and war, and they thought that the hatchet could be buried, essentially. And we saw Bucks admit that they were caught up in the heat of the moment, or as one of my favorite 80s songs goes, it was the heat of the moment, right? Old school song there. But they were about to embrace one another and put it there, pal, when Bullet Club Gold came running in there, and essentially this had set up a 8-man tag match. That's the challenge that was put out there. So there's going to be an 8-man tag match that's going to be going down at All Out between all these respected cats. Right, this is how we were stringing together matches for All Out. You know, not enough story arcs, not enough development. There was just a lot of, well, let's just do this, and let's do this, and let's do that. That's pretty much how it was. Toni Storm a little bit beside herself over the fact that when it was all said and done at All In, Saraya had betrayed her. It wasn't how it was supposed to go. That was not part of the plan, which makes you wonder, well, what exactly was the plan, Toni Storm? What exactly was supposed to happen? But now we've seen this new side of Toni Storm that feels that, well, Ruby Soho, she just disappeared. And we know that wasn't true. Chris Statlander came out, put her over the shoulders, and took her off somewhere. Who knows where, right? Because we never did see any follow-up footage to that. But in addition to that, Toni Storm is now feeling as though she can't trust anyone anymore. So she's acting a bit schizo with this 1930s Hollywood persona thing that's going on. I'm digging it, to be continued right there. Chris Jericho up next, inviting Sammy Guevara to come out as he feels he has something he needs to say to the young man, and he apologizes for losing his cool and getting a little bit physical with him and everything. He felt that initially Sammy did not do enough to help him get the win on Will Ospreay, but then it wasn't until he was able to see footage days later that, in fact, Sammy, because he was trying to play the footage back to see where did he mess up, where did things go wrong and everything, and it was through revisiting the footage did he see, in fact, Sammy did try a bit of everything. And it was interesting and kind of funny hearing Chris Jericho say to the crowd as he's showing the footage of Sammy clear as day taking a bat to the head of Will Ospreay and everything. Yeah, look, you know, it's our MO. We do what we need to do to get the victory. We lie, we cheat, we steal. He actually says that, and that got a nice little pop from the crowd as they were going in a start of a Eddie chant and everything. And Jericho apologizes to Sammy, put it there, pal, and everything, and reluctantly Sammy shakes the hand and everything. And just when we think, after they've hugged it out, all that good stuff, just when we think it's all over and done with, we hear Jericho talk about how he feels so much better. And he thinks to himself as far as, okay, again, what's all the things that could have been done to get the job done? And Jericho starts saying, maybe I should have done this. Maybe I could have done that. Maybe if Sammy had hit Ospreay harder with the bat. Sammy takes great offense to that. Comes right back and says, well, Jericho, maybe you should have hit Ospreay a little bit harder with the Judas effect. Had you done that, maybe, just maybe, you might have been able to pick up the win over that guy and things would have gone much differently. So nice little banter that was going back and forth and everything. We also had Sammy pretty much come back and say, so let me see if I got this straight. You're telling me that after everything that I've done for you, you're going to come after me like this after I leave my pregnant wife at home here in the States? I go hop on a plane, be by your side in London, and this is how. And Jericho basically tried to put it back on him, saying, yo, you should be looking at it as an honor to hop on that plane, come on over here, because there's so many men and women that wish they could be part of could have been part of that whole weekend event and everything. So a lot of testosterone in the air right here. It looked as though maybe we were going to see these two guys slug it out, but that's not what happened. Instead, we saw Jericho go right for, you know what needs to happen? We need to put all this bickering and everything to the side. We need to reform Les Sex Gods, and we need to do what we do best, which is go kick ass. We need to do what we can to become the new AEW World Tag Team Champions. So it's kind of weird, because when you first saw this go down, you were kind of under the impression that maybe Jericho and Sammy were going to go in a tag match tonight to try and I gotta say, in retrospect, that definitely would have helped, considering what all Tony Khan had to do on such short notice. I think that would have sufficed in everything. So the way this is looking, you're kind of under the impression, because I am looking at the card for All Out, because I had to make sure I double checked, and in case I missed it or whatever. But you would think that hearing Sammy and Chris Jericho, they're going to do Les Sex Gods, okay, maybe something's going to be happening at the pay-per-view. No. The way that this is all being mapped out, these guys are going to enter, I believe it is a Grand Slam tournament or whatnot, in hopes that they can be the ones to take on MJF and Adam Cole for the tag team titles. Yeah, because I'm looking at the All Out roster right now, trying to see if, yeah, and I'm reading it right. Yeah, so we'll go into it a lot more with that All Out card, but the way that All Out card is looking right now, just to put a spoiler out there, MJF, Adam Cole, not defending the tag titles at the pay-per-view. FYI. So, very weird, right? I mean, we're seeing all this stuff that's going down here, but that's how it's panning out. So, with me looking at this whole Jericho Sammy thing, I think ultimately where this is going to go is Jericho is going to continue, and I would hope this is the smart move that everybody involved is trying to do, because Sammy G is definitely at the cusp of truly being a great breakout singles competitor. I mean, he is at the cusp. And just how CM Punk was essentially able to help take Ricky Starks to that next level with the Owen Hart tournament, I'm looking at Jericho in this same position where, okay, do this just right, really help elevate the hell out of Sammy, make him a huge babyface in the process. I can see this being a really great, entertaining feud if Jericho just, all the frustrations, all the issues from the inner circle, the Jericho Appreciation Society, what's been happening right now, I can just see Jericho reaching some type of a breaking point and just really flipping the hell off on Sammy G. We got a taste of it within the recent weeks, but right, we can really, if you can envision it yourself, this guy is ultimately going to, and when he does, that's going to create some really great storytelling, especially if you involve Tay Conti in there. Now, when I say involve Tay Conti, I am not saying we're going to be seeing her take a Judas effect or some other stuff. No, we're not going to be seeing any of that, folks. But if you want to spice it up a little bit as far as intensifying the drama, we can definitely throw her into the mix. Can maybe even do some stuff there. I mean, look, also have this in the back of your mind too. It's almost being foreshadowed, because remember what Matt Menard and Angelo Parker had recently said to Sammy J. They were a bit baffled, and I won't say infuriated, but they were definitely baffled and quite taken back over the fact that Sammy had helped out Jericho there with the whole Will Ospreay, Don Callis fiasco leading into All Out, they warned him, like, dude, why are you, when he's not going to be doing the same for you, like, this guy's MO, so why are you continuing to help this man? We're going to see what they have been saying, what they were trying to warn Sammy about, and everything that they had laid out right then and there, and that Jericho Appreciation Society intervention with Jericho, or walkout on Jericho. And it's kind of funny that they walked out on Jericho. It's kind of funny because the epitome of sports entertainers, right? And we've got this whole strike thing that's going on, and essentially the Jericho Appreciation Society has gone on strike on Chris Jericho. I don't think anybody has ever linked those two the way I just linked it. It's even more funnier. Wheeler Yuta taking on Eddie Kingston. Kingston picking up the win there. Okay match. Decent amount of fun. It was okay for what it was worth. Claudio Castagnoli popped up post-match, grabbing Yuta, just ignoring Eddie Kingston in the whole process. I love that. I love how we're continuing to just intensify and egg on the heated rivalry between these two guys for what it's worth and everything. Also, Adam Cole was in the house. Really not much you can sink your teeth into right there. Pretty much marking out over a great pay-per-view night that he had. Great special night for him. We saw the Kingdom's Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, also Roderick Strong crash the party and everything. And they go down a revisionist history, right? Much of the same stuff that we've been seeing for the past couple of weeks and everything. Strong jumps in there and says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enter that tag team tournament, and I'm going to win the right to become a contender, and I'm going to take away those tag titles away from you and MJF, right? So puts that out there. I was ready to see some type of a physical confrontation go down. We didn't get that. I was ready to see maybe MJF come out and everything, especially after Cole said to them, hey, basically, seasons change, and right, people drift off, and it happens. It's part of the whole life circle and everything, and doubling down on the fact that MJF is his friend. And you would have thought that, okay, well, since you feel that way, a beatdown, but it didn't even happen. And you would have thought maybe MJF would have came out, or after Cole said, hey, MJF is one of my best friends, that would have made MJF come out, but none of that had happened. So this was one of those. But my main selling point for this one goes to Roderick Strong, because I loved seeing Roderick Strong with the whole neck brace. I mean, he is really laying it in heavy on that. This is the most entertaining I have seen Roderick Strong, do I dare say, for a majority of his career. I'm really loving it. I mean, because he is showing a lot of freaking personality. Even if it's on the comedic side, it's heavy on the comedic side, I am still loving it. I liked how Cole even said, wait, you're going to enter this tournament? Dude, what about your neck? And Roderick Strong's like, oh, what about my neck? Don't act like you give a damn about me now, because you don't. Unlike you and your boy, MJF, I don't need to win with no damn roll-up or no dynamite ring, because even with a bad neck, even with a neck that isn't at 100%, I can still go in there and not just win. I can win cleanly, right? He's talking about breaking everybody's back, win the tournament, because he's a wrestling legend. Our boy said he is a wrestling legend. Yeah, he is. He is really letting that Kool-Aid go to his head, man. Good stuff right there. From there, Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, Sheeta taking on Nyla Rose, Marina Shafir, and Emi Sakura. Statlander, Baker, Sheeta picking it up. It just wasn't gelling right here. It was not gelling right here. chemistry way off. Quality was off as well. Sense of enthusiasm. That's kind of the word I'm dancing around with right now. There was a whole lot that just was not clicking in this match with all of these girls. And you know how I feel about Britt Baker. You know, I appreciate her and everything. Appreciate the fact that she's now decided, hey, my practice is always going to be there, but, you know, I want to try to focus more on the wrestling. And if you guys remember a couple of weeks back, I had said along the lines, before she even made the decision, I said, look, that's great that she's continuing to be involved in her main profession, the dentist industry and everything, but you're going to come to a point where you unfortunately, you can't keep juggling the two. You know, it's either one or the other, and you pretty much got to be all in, all or nothing at all. So it's great that she made the decision to stick to the wrestling. Now it's just a matter of just, you know, the repetition, getting it in. The more repetition, more live shows, you know, more practice, right, and get better in due time and everything. But this match, I won't say it stunk, but it wasn't quite one of the best. I would definitely say to you, because you all know that's been hearing me on the shows within recent weeks, reading my reviews of Rampage, I've given all the women's matches since Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie, which the whole community as a whole, we say, yo, that was woo. You know, but since that point, all the matches, the quality, it's been better. This was the first kind of snag, kind of bump in the road there where you're going, that really wasn't that impressive, was it? You're like, yeah, no, it wasn't. Also announced Samoa Joe will face Shane Taylor for the ROH TV Championship this Sunday. Acclaimed unveiling some new tag titles. It's got the pink strap now. What else does it have? The back of it where you snap on the belt around your waist and everything. It's cut in a way where you can basically scissor yourself as you're fastening the titles. So that's pretty cool. And they're now calling themselves the House of Ass. The House of Ass. I marked out good on that one, and at the same time I was just thinking to myself, you know, if George Michael was still alive, boy, he'd get a huge kick out of that one. I can just see him. Could I join the House of Ass? I can just picture him. I can picture him doing that. I could literally picture him doing that. It's nice that they did this for I was getting ready to say House of Ass. It's nice that they did this for the Acclaimed and for Daddy Ass. So this just solidifies for you that these guys are going to be champions for a little while. The fact that they did this. Main event, Intercontinental Championship, Orange Cassidy taking on Penta El Zero Miedo. What a surprise. Orange Cassidy retains. Great match. You know, okay and everything. Post-match, Cassidy grabs a mic, grabs a chair, has a seat, says he usually doesn't like to talk, admits that he's pretty tired, his body is really banged up, and that with every title defense that's come about so far, it's been getting heavier and heavier for him. The responsibility of being the AEW Intercontinental Champion. But he says, look, this is what AEW is. It's about a person. It's about putting a person that was told you'll never do anything, or, you know, you're too skinny and too short and you're too different. Yet here he is. He's the champion. Talks about how no matter what, as far as the odds being stacked against him and everything, he's going to continue to defend that championship anytime, any place, whoever it is that's in front of him. That brings him to Jon Moxley, at which he says, yo, bring your best, bring your fork, because I'm going to continue to be the Intercontinental Champion. And that he's freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy And no, he does not have a catchphrase, and just drops the mic down after that. Show ends with Moxley and Cassidy squaring up in the ring, head to head, nose to nose. That pretty much was it. This is a little bit below par for a Dynamite days removed from a pay-per-view. Usually there is a lot more sizzle, more buzz and everything, more, hey, I'm glad I tuned in, but this go round, I get it. You know, I'm almost willing to give them a pass on this one, because they put all their creativity, juices, energy, everything. They put it all into All In, and now you got All Out, the StarCast weekend. I would imagine with what had went down tonight, yeah, I remember, I bet you it was very daunting of a task for them. But this episode, in all honesty, it felt underwhelming. Not overwhelming. It felt underwhelming. And, you know, look, considering what had went down with last week, all those passings back to back from one another, we even had lost the woman that had did the voice of Harley Quinn from the Batman animated series from back in the day. Did the some of the video games as well. She passed away as well. I think she passed away before Bob Barker passed away, if not at the same time. So I mean, there was a lot of stuff that had went down and everything. But if I were to really home in on key matches, I would recommend you go out of your way to check out for this week's Dynamite. You got it on your DVR, I'm assuming, or you're going to be watching it on demand on the downloads there. I would definitely say go out of your way, check out Cassidy taking on Penta. You can definitely do that one. And other than that, I would say also, I'm just scrolling back here. I'm scrolling back. I would say Commander and Moxley, believe it or not. I would say Commander and Moxley. Check those two out, and then honestly, you're done. You can pretty much skip through everything else. That's AEW Dynamite in the books. Hope you guys been enjoying yourselves so far. If you have not done so already, please do me a huge solid, would mean a lot. Hit the like button when you do that. You really help put more eyeballs on the content. Get it pushed out there to a more wider audience. So do that, and thanks. Make sure you also represent. Check out the show on demand and on the downloads. We are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR show. Let's talk CM Punk, and then we are out of here. So look, longtime listeners, newer listeners know this, which is big fan of CM Punk. Been a CM Punk fan for many, many, many years. Even when I've disagreed with some of the things that we've come to understand from CM Punk's side, as far as the way he conducted himself, why he conducted himself the way that he did. You know, even me, being as much of a CM Punk fan as I am, even I have gone on record and said, well, you know, this could have been approached much differently. You know, it should have been like this instead. You know, maybe could have gone in this direction instead. You know, so by now, everybody knows about this whole stuff that went down with Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and CM Punk. So we don't need to dive into the whole spiel. I mean, my God, unless you've been living under a rock, okay? You know, quick bullet point, basically, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, he was trying to do some really cool spot in a match against Hook involving some glass. A lot of people had said to him, yo, are you crazy? No, you don't want to do that. There's no need to do that. That's silly. That's stupid. No, don't freaking do that. He's like, y'all stupid. I'm going to do this. This is cool. Word gets to CM Punk. CM Punk is basically the guy that says to him, dude, what the hell are you thinking? No, that's stupid. You don't need to do that. Totally unnecessary. So what happens? You go to the pay-per-view, and assuming you all have saw the pay-per-view, but for those of you that didn't, we had a spot where Hook, Perry, fought over by a car. Perry gets Hook on top of the car, looks into the camera, says real loud, look. Looks at the, takes his hand, points at the car windshield there. Real glass. Proceeds to do a spot on Hook. It gets reversed. Next thing you know, when it was all said and done, goes into the back. Remember, this was a pre-show joint, and opening up the actual pay-per-view was supposed to be Samoa Joe and CM Punk for the Real World Championship. Upon Jack Perry going backstage. Now, where it's a little bit kind of, okay, can we get for the record what went down officially here? What seems to be lost in translation is, did Jack Perry go out of his way to find CM Punk? Or was this a case where CM Punk was watching everything that went down on the monitors, saw the match in question, and was waiting for Jack Perry in the gorilla position? That's where, but the one thing that is basically allegedly confirmed is that the two of them, they did have a confrontation. Some words were exchanged. I'm not going to say whether or not it was heated, but words were exchanged. And then you have the Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer camp that is saying that not Jericho, but that Punk had put Jack Perry in some type of a headlock. You got Sean Ross Sapp and other people that are saying, no, it wasn't a headlock, but CM Punk did grab him. He grabbed him by the neck, right? So there was some type of physical altercation that had went down. And so when it was all said and done, Jack Perry was asked to leave the arena pretty much immediately. And CM Punk, meanwhile, he was allowed to stay in his dressing room for a little bit as security were pretty much around him. And then eventually he was asked to leave the arena. Keep in mind that, you also have this report that's floating around that apparently, and I wish I could give credit where credit is due, but there's this one report that's saying that apparently when Punk arrived in London, as far as getting a rental car or whatever, go to his hotel, wherever he was staying, nobody was there to greet him. Nobody was there to pick him up. So he pretty much had to rely on those that lived out there / fans to help him get where he needed to go. So you hear that and you're just going, wow, really? Like, assuming this legit happened, you just can't help but look at that and go, well, wait a minute here. You've got the owner, the CEO of the company, and Tony Khan. You've got this guy on speed dial. And I'm having a hard time believing that, because if that were you or if that were me, and I've got Tony Khan on speed dial, I'm going, Tony, baby, I'm here. I'm ready to rock and roll, baby, but ain't nobody here to pick me up. What the hell is going on? What's going on? Who dropped the ball here? And essentially, you hold that person accountable, right? That's what happens. If somebody is responsible for making sure that all the stars, whether you're at the top or low at the bottom, whoever is in charge of the trip itinerary and all that, they need to be held accountable, unless it's a situation where, look, we did our part. We got the talents, the plane tickets. We got them the hotel where they're going to be staying at. They're responsible for making sure that they get themselves, again, we took care of the airplane fare and we took care of the hotel. If they need to take a rental car, or if they need to, that's on them. And if that's the case, okay, I'm just going back and trying to remember some stories from a couple of months ago where all the talent was talking about, oh, we're taken care of real good. Yeah, man, our plane fares taken care of, our hotel fares taken care of, our travel is taken care of, rental, all that's taken. Oh, Tony Khan, oh, they're so good. And yet we're hearing stuff like this. I mean, you're hearing that. You can't help but, go, flag. Something does not compute here, right? So this stuff that's going on now where Punk, we had PW Insider, Sean Ross Sapp, Sports Illustrated, they all pretty much confirming the same thing, that apparently Jack Perry, CM Punk, both were suspended. Shout out to Haas of Wrestling, who is saying that through his respected sources, apparently CM Punk was not even informed directly by Tony Khan that he was being suspended. Apparently Punk found out, allegedly, that he was suspended through his respected lawyer. So if you had watched tonight's Dynamite just trying to see, okay, how is Jack Perry going to be addressed? How is CM Punk going to be addressed? Well, simple. They were not addressed at all, right down to the point when you get to the card for this Friday's Rampage and Collision, both men not mentioned whatsoever. It was almost as if those guys do not even exist. Okay? Much like what had happened the last rodeo, except at the top of the show, we heard those guys were stripped of the titles, but this go round, nothing was mentioned. And so this is where we are right now with all of that in mind. And, let's not forget about the Miro thing as well, and Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer, mainly Brian Alvarez, how this had blew up in his face. Did he get baited big time? Because an initial report that Alvarez had put out there was that CM Punk and Miro nearly had an incident immediately after Punk and Jack Perry had their backstage incident at All In over the weekend. Miro asked what happened with Jack Perry, and Punk proceeded to ask him if he had a problem with him now and if he wanted to step outside. So you hear that, and right on cue, I got the wifey sending me a text message. I can tell you, she's like, you almost done? Yes. Right on top. I'm literally almost done closing out with the CM Punk stuff. Give me about 10 minutes or less, but I'm definitely wrapping up. So we're doing good, though. I mean, we've gone 49 minutes. I want to try to stretch it out just a little bit because I feel bad that, when it's all said and done, we're like under an hour. I want to try to give you guys at least an hour. That way you at least got yourselves a well-rounded episode. So that's what Alvarez had put out there. And shout out to Sean Ross Sapp. I know that last week you had a lot of people that were saying, oh, he's doing cocaine and all this other crap. These are obviously idiots that have never done some form of podcasting, never taken a Zoom class, what have you. I have seen many professors, myself included, I've been there, where you have some type of a bad, itchy and or runny nose. You gotta blow that stuff out, and man, it is the worst kind is when it's liquidy, when you got a runny nose or your sinuses is kicking up, all that craziness. I never had the pleasure in working with Sean Ross Sapp. I never ever had the pleasure, but I have circled around him. I used to circle around him off and on over the years, and from time to time he would give me some really good, solid advice as far as how I need to conduct myself being involved in the wrestling industry, if I'm trying to be involved in the wrestling industry, especially on the business side of things. You know, one thing that Sean had told me, and then he will tell you this himself, I'm sure this will jog his memory and everything, and actually put a smile on his face. And I took this advice to heart. He said to me, Lee, no matter what you do, never ever do something for free. And that always stuck with me, right down to the point whenever I need some type of work done for the shows, I always go out of my way to hire somebody and try to do my best to compensate them fairly for the work that they're providing me and everything. So, you know, when I heard this stuff about Sean Ross doing cocaine, I'm going, no, the only high he is on is for the profession that he's in and the work that he's putting out there. You know, these were knuckleheads that were just, they had their own agenda, and, you know, that's how I looked at that. But Sean Ross Sapp, on his one of his streams, he put out the official word that he was hearing from his respected sources, explaining what was relayed to him, which was that after Punk's match, he was approached by Miro backstage, and Miro asked Punk how he was doing. Punk replied with something along the lines of, "I'm okay, unless you want to fight me too," in a jokingly manner. Miro then replied with an "okay," also supposedly in a jokingly manner. Punk then, continuing to just joke around, said, "How about we take this outside?" To which Miro replied, "How about we take this to the ring?" And that is all what was explained to Sean Ross Sapp. This was nothing more than two guys just joking around and everything. So to see how this blew up in Brian Alvarez's face, right? You know, you're trying to put yourself over as some form of a journalist, and yet, you know, this is why I always tell you guys, I don't want to be coming out there with whatever narrative is currently trending. Like, go back to the whole stuff with Bray Wyatt. Remember how I told you guys, it would have been very easy for me to come on live, what was that, Thursday, the last week. It would have been very easy for me to come on live, do speculate and all that other stuff on this man's passing, versus, you know what, let's wait a few days and let's get official information. That way we have a better idea of what all has transpired, then react to it, you know, versus just reading something off of, you know, and essentially going subscribe. No. You can miss me with all that, right? You know, this is a perfect example right here of somebody that was trying to get in front of a story, obviously has their own respected agenda when it comes to Punk and everything, Alvarez and Meltzer. You see the way that Tony Khan and crew are continuing to operate this company. What I need for CM Punk to understand is when it's all said and done, no matter how much good he is trying to do for Tony Khan and for AEW, he will never, ever, ever be made a minority owner of AEW. He will never be made a 50-50 partner in AEW. He can be as passionate as he wants. He can be as creative as he wants. When it's all said and done, he is playing in somebody else's sandbox. He is playing with somebody else's toys. And the sooner that he realizes that, and the sooner that he admits to himself that, hey, not only is Tony Khan a money mark for just the buku's amount of money that he's willing to put out there to acquire X amount of talent, get that song or get that venue and all of that, the sooner that Punk admits to himself, besides Tony Khan doing XYZ of all of those things, the sooner he realizes that, you know what, in regards to Tony Khan, man, you want to talk about where's the leader, where's putting your foot down. And, you know, there's something that Tony Khan had said recently, you know, something along the lines of, It was something along the lines of, God, I wish I could remember the line. It had something to do with, working with one another, right? And I'm thinking to myself, dude, a really good boss sits down his employees that are having a heated dispute or whatever with one another and goes, look, we all need to be on the same page here because there is so much money that needs to be made. So look, whether you like it or not, we're all in this together. So put your differences to the side and let's go out there and make some money. Right? This is my company, and you guys can tell me all till you're blue in the face what you can and cannot do, what you will and won't do. I'm telling you, as the person that's signing your checks, how's it gonna be? And until Tony Khan starts putting himself in that position, we're going to continue to see these things that are operating. This should have never, this stuff with All In and then going back to the brawl from last year's media scrum and all. There's like so much crap that has gone down, right? The time has come for CM Punk to just make his freaking exit. It's time. I love the dude. I think the world of him. But for starters, this is too much power for one guy to have. If he's got that much stroke over there on Collision, where he can essentially say, look, I want this person working on the show. I want that person working on the show. I want this person working on the show. What was that report from a couple of days ago where Tony Khan, he was legit interviewed. I welcome you guys to go check it out. He was interviewed, and a question was asked of him where if something unfortunate were to happen to you, they didn't say die, but you're reading in between the lines. You know, what would happen with AEW as a whole? And Tony Khan had revealed that Bryan Danielson would be the one. To the point that Tony Khan told his father, Shad Khan, if anything happens to me, Bryan Danielson, he needs to be the man. That tells you all you need to know. It's not the Elite. It ain't CM Punk. It ain't Orange Cassidy. It's freaking Bryan Danielson, right? So, sooner or later, you can't help but go, okay, look, man, there's only but so many fingers. When are you going to take self-accountability? If I got some young punk kid that's saying all this crap about, it's real glass, cry me a river, and all this other crap, okay, you know what? This guy want to take his little verbal shots at me, all that other stuff. Okay, if allegedly I've got this power over here on this Saturday show, well, then I'm quietly saying to Tony Khan, you know what? I don't need that headache. I don't want that guy on Collision. I don't want to work with him. Let him do his stuff on ROH, Dynamite, Rampage. I don't want him on Collision. Bump it. He's young. He's naive. Forget it. I don't want to deal with him. Okay. Problem solved. Moving right along. That's how you conduct. He says that he's trying to run a business. Is CM Punk? He's trying to run. Okay, well then run a business. Your brand is your business. Okay, well then handle yourself accordingly. If all of these reports that's flying out here are allegedly true. Sorry if I keep using the word allegedly, but we gotta make sure we're covering all our bases here. But if all of this toxicity, he said, she said, bullshit is going on, then it's time for CM Punk to go, you know what? And it's time for Tony Khan. I got to put it on Tony Khan too. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? Picture yourself for a second. How many of you, I know y'all been in this position, whether you're a man or a woman, how many of y'all been in that position where there was somebody that you really, really wanted to date, but you felt that they were extremely high maintenance? Extreme high maintenance. You had to work for it. I mean, you really, really, really had to work for it. There's a lot of crap that you had to put up with. But man, you wanted those bragging rights, man. But in the process, you kind of said to yourself, you know what? I'm having second thoughts about this. I need to get out of this. This is just bad. That's exactly what's going on here with this relationship. To quote one of my favorite Gladys Knight in the Pip song, neither one of us wants to say goodbye. It needs to happen already. The only question is who's going to pull the trigger first. Is it going to be Punk or is it going to be Tony Khan? One thing is for certain, these personalities, I'm starting to really get Tony Khan. He doesn't want the conflict, but sometimes I've got friends like that. I've got friends that don't like any type of conflict whatsoever. And I appreciate the fact that now Khan has kind of gotten himself to a position where any type of disciplinary action that needs to go down, he's kind of now deferring that to somebody else to take care of and everything. But, you got to do a little bit more than just that. And you still got to lead by example and everything. This Jack Perry, for the stuff that he did, that was very, very reckless. What if something bad were to happen to him? Tony Khan and crew, they got a responsibility to their sponsors. I mean, can you just imagine the terrible headlines if that would have went sideways? And now it's a situation where a main artery and Jack Perry's kind of fighting for his life. Right? You mess up a main artery lease of your issues. Heaven forbid a blood clot happens in the process and all of that. Then we're talking. You feel where I'm coming from? So, you're looking at that stuff with Jack Perry as well. I'm looking at that. I'm a boss. I'm going, look, Jack, nothing personal, man, but you know what? You ain't worth the headache. If you're gonna be that reckless, that stupid, right? You're being paid good money. You don't need to do stuff like that, and you're gonna do that anyway. And they essentially, allegedly, all these people had told you, no need to do that because that's a stupid spot, and you do it anyway. No, hit the road, Jack. Hit the road, Jack. But the stuff with Punk, just one thing after another. It's nerve-wracking. It's a freaking headache. It's time. Just cut loose. Now, this ain't me saying he needs to go back to WWE. It's not about that. It is not about that. And I've always been a firm believer. As far as him going back to WWE, I believe in that catchphrase, never say never. Anything can and will happen in the WWE. But this isn't even about... I mean, if you were to ask me straight up, well, could I see him going back to WWE? No, but I'm still going to say never. But this isn't even about that. It's just about the constant level of... We heard Big Swole try to talk about this, and she got verbally cut down the size on social media. We heard our girl LaFisto kind of talk about some of these bad things, this bad behavior that she was noticing in the company, and she got freaking, okay? We saw Jonathan Gresham talk about how the energy and just everything was totally different this go round after ROH was acquired by Tony Khan, and why he essentially had made his exit and everything. Okay, now we've seen examples of people that have tried to go on record and shed light on some of the bad things that they were noticing in AEW, and the sooner CM Punk, I'm sure he's seen this, but he's probably going, look, the money is good. I feel like I can make a difference here. I feel like I can mix it up well with some really good opponents here. Some of my friends are here. I think I can make this work. But you get to a point where you just go, you know what? Enough is enough. And if this guy is just going to continue to operate the company this way, despite all the input that I'm giving him, I'm trying to give him really good on-hands training because I've been there, I've done that, I've worked under the absolute best. And rather than this person continue to be a student, they can actually be a teacher of the game. They can understand the game better with my help and play it and execute it well. then you know what? It's one of those deals where you just go, okay, well, you know what? I'll just take my ball and I'll go elsewhere. How about that? I'll just go elsewhere. That's my 2 cents on that from a distance. We went an hour and 5 minutes. We're sticking a fork in it, calling it DONE done. I didn't want to leave you guys hanging too bad, so I hope you guys appreciate the fact that, you know, we did just about an hour here, but I don't think we need to go any further than that. Nothing else as far as headlines go. Non-wrestling related note, be careful out there. I watched the news report before I came on live. More and more in the DC metropolitan area, we've got teenagers now operating in broad daylight. They had tried to, kids ranging from 13 to 16 years old, they tried to steal this guy's car. And he relies on this car to provide for his family and all that. I think he's an Uber driver or something like that. He was a victim of a carjacking last year. They got his car. This go around, he was not trying to experience that again, so he fought them all off. It was, I think, 3 girls, 2 boys, I believe. It was like 5 teenagers that were arrested. And be careful out there, y'all, because it's in the metropolitan area, because this is really, really crazy. The carjackings has just been going up. Mind your surroundings. Do everything in your power to, even if you're only going to be away from your car for 10 seconds, that's all the time that a car thief needs to jack your vehicle, okay? So if you're going to be gone from your car for just 10 seconds, I don't care. Get out of your car, roll your windows up, lock your car properly, right? And this goes for anybody, you know, even if you don't live in the DC metropolitan area, but you provide some type of delivery, driving service or whatever, right? Don't ever leave your car unattended. Always mind your surroundings and everything. Just be smart out there, because it is crazy. Let's see, your next edition of the RCWR show. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Labor Day. I don't know if I want to come on Labor Day night. We'll see. Stay posted on social media. I'll keep you guys up to date. Be kind, rewind. Check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, especially wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR show. You can get at me on X Twitter and on Facebook at the RCWR show. And until next go round, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. You agree with my thoughts in regards to CM Punk? Sound off in the comments. Let me know. Enjoy the weekend. Happy Labor Day weekend, y'all. Take care. Peace.